Hey, what's up? It's Strange here, your guide through the rotten underbelly of Hollywood, the one guy who's been in the rooms, seen the texts, heard the whispers that the stars pray never see the light of day. I'm sitting here in this dimly lit corner of my studio, the kind of place where the shadows feel alive and the air hangs heavy with the ghosts of broken dreams, because what I'm about to lay out for you tonight on Dirty Hollywood is the kind of raw, gut-wrenching truth that makes even the most hardened insiders want to look away and pretend it never happened. We're talking the most terrifying celebrity plastic surgery disasters of 2026. Not the cute little, I got a little Botox confessions that these stars drop on their podcast when they're trying to seem relatable. No, we're talking faces melting, bodies betraying them in the most violent ways, careers imploding in real time like a slow-motion car crash you can't look away from. All because the machine that built them decided that perfection was worth the body count and the endless stream of lawsuits. And trust me, this year was a slaughterhouse, the kind where the blood on the operating table was just the beginning of the real horror show. Picture this, it's January 3rd, 2026, just a few days after the New Year's chaos where everyone was still pretending the holidays were magical and the resolutions were going to stick. A grainy video drops on a private Telegram channel, the kind only the real players are in, the ones with the blue check marks and the private jets and the NDAs thicker than the walls of their mansions. The footage is shaky, filmed on a nurse's phone in a recovery suite at Voss Aesthetics, that gleaming fortress up in the Hollywood Hills where the air smells like sterile money and quiet desperation. The kind of place where the marble floors are so polished you can see your own reflection staring back at you like a warning you choose to ignore. The patient is Sofia Reyes, the 24-year-old supernova who went from a single white trailer in Texas to headlining the biggest Netflix franchise in history, the girl who had the world at her feet just months earlier. But in this clip, she's not the girl with the $1 million smile and the effortless charm that made everyone fall in love with her. She's a wreck, a living nightmare. Her face is ballooned to twice its size, the left side a map of purple bruises and angry red incisions leaking clear fluid that soaks through the bandages like they're made of tissue paper. She's whimpering, her voice raw and broken and barely human. It feels like my skin is crawling off my bones. Please make it stop. I can't take this anymore. The nurse is shushing her, her voice tight with panic, glancing at the door like the devil himself is about to walk in and shut the whole thing down. Then the video cuts abruptly as footsteps approach, heavy and purposeful, the kind that make your stomach drop. That clip spread like wildfire among the insiders before it got scrubbed from every server it touched. But I got it. I have it right here. And when I saw it, I knew 2026 was gonna be the year the mask finally slipped. The year the pretty lies of Hollywood came crashing down in the most disgusting, visceral way possible. Because here's the thing, folks, Hollywood has always been a meat grinder for beauty, the kind of place where youth is currency and anything less than flawless is a death sentence. But this year, it was like the industry collectively lost its goddamn mind, chasing trends that sounded like they came from a sci-fi movie but ended up playing out like the worst kind of horror film you can't unsee. New procedures, experimental fillers that hadn't even cleared basic trials, AI-optimized lips that promised to rewrite your face like code but left people looking like they'd been through a meat processor. Celebrities chasing the unattainable, surgeons playing God with untested shit that came from back alley suppliers in places like South Korea and Dubai, managers and agents counting the cash while their clients fell apart in private jets and Calabasas mansions. And the worst part, they all knew the risks. The consent forms were there, the warnings were whispered, the horror stories from previous years were everywhere. They just didn't care. Or worse, they thought they were above it, that the rules didn't apply to them because they were the chosen ones, the ones with the followers and the franchises. So tonight we're reconstructing the whole nightmare, step by bloody step, from the broke childhoods in trailer parks and middle-class suburbs to the moment everything exploded in operating rooms that smelled like antiseptic and regret and the faint metallic tang of blood. We're talking the leaked texts, the court documents that read like crime novels, the old interviews where they swore they'd never touch a needle, the whispered rumors from people who are still too scared to go on record but can't keep their mouths shut anymore. We're going deeper than anyone else dares, and by the end of this, you'll be looking at every filtered Instagram post, every red carpet photo, every glow-up reel with new eyes, wondering what fresh hell is hiding under the surface. And we have to start with Sofia, because her story is the perfect entry point into this abyss, the one that set the tone for the entire year of carnage. Sofia Reyes didn't just want fame, she clawed for it with her bare hands, the kind of hunger that comes from growing up with nothing and knowing that the only way out is to become everything. Born on March 15th, 1999, in a single wide trailer in a dusty park outside El Paso, Texas, the kind of place where the wind whips through the cracks in the walls at night and the nearest grocery store is a 40-minute drive on a 2-lane road that feels like it goes nowhere. Her mom, Maria, was a waitress pulling double shifts at a truck stop diner called the Lone Star Grill, the kind of joint where the air was thick with the smell of frying bacon and cigarette smoke from the truckers who tipped in crumpled bills and bad jokes. Maria would come home at 2 in the morning, her feet swollen like balloons, her hands red and raw from scrubbing plates, but she always made time to sit on the edge of Sofia's bed and tell her stories about the big city, about lights and cameras and people who got paid just to look pretty. "You got the face, baby," she'd say, running her fingers through Sofia's thick dark hair. "One day, you're gonna use it to get us out of here." Dad Roberto was a truck driver who came and went like the seasons, bringing home cheap toys from truck stops and the smell of diesel and regret. When Sofia was 3, he packed a duffel bag one rainy afternoon while Maria was at work. Sofia remembers the sound of the zipper, the way the rain pattered on the tin roof like it was crying too. She asked where he was going, and he just ruffled her hair and said, "To find something better, kiddo." He left a note on the fridge that said, "I can't do this anymore," and a stack of unpaid bills that Maria had to stare at for weeks. The trailer felt emptier after that, the laughter gone, the fights replaced by silence that was even worse. Sofia became the quiet one in the middle, sandwiched between an older brother who was always getting into trouble with the local sheriff for joyriding in stolen cars, and a younger sister who was the baby, the one who got the extra hugs because she was small and fragile. But Sofia had the spark, the big brown eyes that could light up a room, and the laugh that made the whole dusty lot feel less hopeless. From the time she was 4, she was performing, standing on the coffee table in her mismatched socks, singing along to the radio with a hairbrush as a microphone, making up dances to songs she didn't fully understand but felt in her bones. By the time she was 8, Maria had scraped together enough tips from the diner to enter Sofia in her first beauty pageant, the Little Miss Sunshine contest at the county fair. The dress was a hand-me-down from a cousin, a pink tulle thing that was too big and had to be pinned in the back with safety pins that dug into her skin. Her hair was curled with hot rollers borrowed from the neighbor lady who smelled like perfume and hairspray. When Sofia walked on the stage, her little legs shaking under the bright lights, she sang "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" in a voice that was too big for her tiny body, her eyes closed like she was somewhere else. She didn't win the crown, but she got a special mention for most charismatic, and Maria cried in the car on the way home, the kind of tears that were happy and sad at the same time. "You're gonna make it, Mija!" she whispered. "I know it in my heart." From then on, pageants became the family obsession, the one thing that gave them hope in a town where hope was in short supply. Maria would work extra shifts, skipping meals so she could pay for entry fees and cheap costumes from the Walmart clearance rack. Sofia won a few local ones, enough to get her picture in the El Paso Times with a headline that said "Local Girl Shines in Talent Show." The photo showed her in a sequin dress, smiling with missing teeth, holding a small trophy that she kept on her nightstand like a talisman. But the real turning point came when she was 13. A modeling scout from a small agency in Albuquerque was at a state fair pageant, the kind of guy with a gold chain and a clipboard and a smile that promised the world but delivered mostly disappointment. He saw Sofia on stage, her confidence growing with every step, and he pulled Maria aside after the show. "Your daughter has the look," he said, handing over a business card that was slightly bent at the edges. "Come to Los Angeles and we can make her a star. The agencies there are looking for fresh faces like hers." The decision was made over a dinner of microwave burritos and warm soda, the kind of meal that tasted like cardboard but felt like a feast, because it was the night they decided to bet everything. Sofia was excited, her eyes wide with dreams of red carpets and flashing cameras. Maria was terrified, her hands shaking as she packed the suitcases, but she saw it as the only way out of the trailer park life, the only way to give her daughter a chance at something better. So, at 16, Sofia dropped out of high school, the guidance counselor shaking her head in disappointment as she signed the paperwork. They packed everything they owned into 2 suitcases and a cardboard box, and they rode the Greyhound bus to Los Angeles, the 24-hour ride, feeling like an eternity. The bus smelled of sweat and fast food wrappers, the seats sticky from spilled drinks, but Sophia stared out the window the whole time, watching the landscape change from flat desert to the sprawl of the city, the lights of Los Angeles twinkling in the distance like a promise. When they arrived, they stayed with Maria's cousin in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment in Van Nuys, the kind of place where the walls were thin and you could hear the neighbors arguing at all hours. Sophia and her mom slept on an air mattress in the living room, the kind that deflated a little every night, leaving them on the hard floor by morning. The cousin was a struggling actor himself, always talking about his big break that never came, chain smoking on the balcony and complaining about the industry. They ate ramen noodles and canned beans, the kind of meals that left you hungry an hour later, the kind that made your stomach growl during auditions. Sophia got a job waitressing at a Greasy Spoon diner on Sunset Boulevard, the kind where the customers were wannabe producers with bad breath and wandering hands, the tips barely enough to cover the bus pass, and the occasional headshot from the cheap photo studio down the street. The auditions were brutal, the kind that broke people every day. She would take the bus to casting calls in Burbank or Santa Monica, sitting in rooms with 100 other girls who looked just like her, all of them clutching the same headshots and praying for a miracle. The rejections piled up like unpaid bills, each one a little stab to the heart. Too ethnic for the role. Not ethnic enough for the diversity push. Your face is too soft, too round for the dramatic scenes. One casting director, a woman with sharp glasses and a colder stare, told her straight up, "You have the potential, but you need to lose 20 pounds. The camera adds 10, and we need you to look snatched." Sophia started skipping meals, the hunger gnawing at her stomach as she walked the streets of Los Angeles, the glamour of the city feeling further away with every step. She did some catalog work for a cheap clothing brand, posing in bikinis that made her feel exposed and vulnerable, the photographer barking orders like she was a piece of meat. She did background work on TV shows, standing in crowds for hours, hoping the camera would catch her smile for a split second. But she kept going because giving up wasn't an option. The diner job paid the bills, barely, and the auditions kept her going. Then in 2023, everything changed in the way that only happens in Hollywood when the stars align just right. She auditioned for an indie film called Whispers in the Wind, a drama about a young woman dealing with family loss and finding her voice. The casting was in a small office in Burbank, the kind of place with folding chairs and bad coffee. Sophia read the scene where the character confronts her absent father, pouring every bit of her own pain into it, the tears coming real and hot as she remembered her dad driving away. The director, a guy named Alex Rivera, who had a reputation for finding raw talent, was moved to silence. "You it," he said after the read, his voice quiet. "You are this character. You lived it." The film shot in the California desert, the days long and scorching hot, the nights cold enough to make your bones ache. Sophia's performance was raw, the kind that critics later called breakthrough and heartbreaking. The film premiered at Sundance in 2024, and the buzz was immediate, the kind that spreads like wildfire in the snowy streets of Park City. Sophia was the darling of the festival, doing interviews in a borrowed coat, her face flushed with the kind of excitement that comes from finally being seen. Then Netflix came calling, the kind of call that changes everything. They wanted her for Echoes of Us, a series about a young woman finding love and purpose after a devastating loss. The chemistry read with the male lead was electric, the kind of spark that you can't fake. She got the role, and the show dropped in late 2024, and it was a phenomenon, the kind that breaks the internet and launches careers into the stratosphere. 50 million streams in the first week. Covers of Vogue and Rolling Stone. Interviews with every late-night host, the kind where they ask her about her journey from the trailer park to the red carpet. But fame has teeth, and they sank in fast and deep. The comments started almost immediately, the kind that come from the dark corners of the internet where people hide behind keyboards. Her face is too soft for the dramatic scenes. She needs to define the joys holding her back. The camera has weight. She needs to fix that if she wants to be a leading lady. Her agents at Creative Artists Agency were blunt in the meetings, the kind of meetings in glass-walled offices with views of the city that make you feel small. "Sophia, you're talented, but the industry is visual. To get the big roles, the franchises, the blockbusters, you need to look the part. We can introduce you to the right people, the ones who can help." She resisted at first, the girl from the trailer park still fighting for her authenticity. In a 2025 interview with Variety, she said, "I'm proud of my natural look. It's what makes me relatable to the fans who grew up like me." But the offers for the relatable roles started to dwindle, the kind of roles that paid the bills but didn't make you a superstar. The big blockbusters wanted the polished, the sculpted, the ones who looked like they belonged on billboards. During a table read for her next project, the director pulled her aside in the hallway, the kind of hallway with bad lighting and the smell of craft services. "For the close-ups, we need you to look a bit more refined. It's not about changing who you are, it's about enhancing what the audience wants to see." The pressure built like a storm that you can see coming but can't outrun. Sophia started seeing a high-end therapist in Beverly Hills, the kind with a waiting list 6 months long and a couch that cost more than her first apartment in Van Nuys. The sessions were $500 an hour, the therapist nodding sympathetically as Sophia poured out her fears, the kind of fears that kept her up at night. "I feel like if I don't change, they'll find someone else. I'm replaceable, just another girl from nowhere." She confided in her mom during a late-night call, the kind where the connection was crackly because Maria was still in Texas. "I feel like I'm disappearing, Mom. Like the girl you raised is gone, and this new me is scared of what she'll become." Maria begged her not to do anything drastic, her voice breaking over the phone. "You're beautiful as you are, mija. Don't let them change you into something you're not." But the industry whispers were louder, the kind that echo in your head until you can't hear anything else. Her stylist, a guy named Marco, who dressed all the It Girls and knew all the secrets, said over a glass of expensive wine at a private dinner, "Everyone does it, Sophia. Look at the girls on the red carpet. They all have the work. It's the price of staying on top, the price of not being forgotten." By November 2025, she was convinced, the kind of convinced that comes from fear and ambition mixing in the worst way. She booked a consultation at Voss Aesthetics, the clinic that was the kingmaker for the elite, the one where the waitlist was longer than the list of Oscar nominees. Dr. Elias Voss was the man, the 58-year-old silver fox with a smile that could sell you your own soul and a reputation that made him untouchable. His clinic was a temple of vanity, all white marble and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights that twinkled like stars you could never reach. The lobby had a waterfall feature that trickled like liquid diamonds, the kind of detail that made you feel like you were already in a different world. Sophia's consultation was on a Tuesday afternoon, the kind of afternoon where the sun was low and the air was crisp. She sat in the plush leather chair in the consultation room, her hands trembling under the table, the kind of tremble that comes from knowing you're about to cross a line. Voss leaned in, his cologne thick in the air, a mix of sandalwood and power. "You're already stunning, Sophia," he said, his voice smooth as silk, scrolling through her photos on his iPad with the kind of ease that made it seem like he did this every day. "But we can make you timeless. Buccal fat removal to carve those cheeks. A subtle thread lift for the brows, some hyaluronic acid in the lips, and a touch of chin filler to balance it all. Is the 2026 refresh minimally invasive? You'll be glowing by New Year's, ready for the next chapter." He explained the procedures in detail, the risks mentioned in passing like an afterthought. "There's always a small chance of asymmetry or swelling, but with your youth, you heal beautifully." Sophia signed the consent forms, her hand shaking slightly, the kind of shake that she ignored because the promise of immortality was too strong. The procedure was set for December 31st, symbolic in the way that only Hollywood can be. New year, new face, new her. The day of the surgery, she arrived at 6 a.m., nerves buzzing like electricity in her veins. The pre-op room was cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. The anesthesiologist was chatty, cracking jokes about champagne toast later that night. Voss was in scrubs, smiling that million-dollar smile. "Trust me," he said as they wheeled her in. The operating room was cold, the lights harsh and unforgiving, the beeps of the monitors like a countdown to something she couldn't take back. She went under to the sound of classical music playing softly, the kind of music that was supposed to be calming but felt like a funeral march in hindsight. What happened next is pieced together from leaked surgical reports, texts from the staff that I got my hands on, and the lawsuit filings that dropped like bombs in March. The associate surgeon, Dr. Harlan Reed, handled the buccal fat. He was aggressive, according to the notes that I have seen, the kind of aggressive that comes from wanting to impress the boss. Removed more than planned from the left side, slicing too close to the buccal branch of the facial nerve, the kind of mistake that changes a face forever. The thread lift was rushed because the team was trying to beat the holiday traffic, the kind of rush that leads to shortcuts. The threads, a new biodegradable type from a supplier in South Korea, were supposed to dissolve in 6 months. They didn't. They snapped and pulled unevenly. And the filler cocktail? Voss's proprietary blend, a mix of hyaluronic acid and some experimental polypeptide that hadn't cleared full trials. The kind of blend that was supposed to be the future but turned out to be a nightmare. It was injected hot, too much volume too fast, the kind of injection that migrates and causes chaos. Sophia woke up in recovery around noon, the pain hitting like a truck, the kind of pain that makes you question every decision. My face is on fire, she slurred to the nurse. Her left eye was already swelling shut, the kind of swelling that makes you look like you lost a fight. The staff pumped her full of steroids and sent her home with ice packs and Vicodin, the kind of send-off that was supposed to be reassuring. Normal post-op, they texted her manager. She'll be red carpet ready in 10 days. But by New Year's Day, the nightmare was in full swing, the kind of nightmare that doesn't end when you wake up. Sophia's face was a horror show, the kind that makes you gasp. The left cheek was hard as a rock, the skin tight and shiny like plastic. She couldn't close her mouth all the way, her lips lopsided, the filler migrating like it had a mind of its own. She locked herself in her Calabasas mansion, curtains drawn, crying into her pillow, the kind of crying that comes from the soul. Texts to her team poured out, the kind of texts that are desperate and raw. I look like I got hit by a truck. What the fuck is this? Her manager replied, stay out of sight. We're handling it. The clinic called it expected inflammation, the kind of lie that they tell to keep the machine running. They scheduled a follow-up. Voss took one look and frowned. We'll dissolve some of the filler. It's a minor adjustment. But the threads were embedded, the kind of embedded that requires surgery to fix. The nerve was damaged. And the infection was brewing, a low-grade fever that turned into full-blown cellulitis by mid-January, the kind of infection that spreads fast and mean. Sophia was rushed to Cedars-Sinai on January 15th, the kind of rush that happens when things go from bad to life-threatening. The ER docs were stunned, the kind of stun that comes from seeing something you can't fix easily. This is beyond botched, one said in the notes that I have. They did emergency surgery to drain the abscesses and remove the necrotic tissue, the kind of surgery that leaves scars and permanent changes. Sophia lost a chunk of her left cheek fat pad permanently, the kind of loss that changes your face forever. The nerve damage left her with partial facial paralysis on that side, the kind of paralysis that makes your smile crooked and your expressions uneven. When she saw herself in the mirror for the first time, she screamed so loud the nurses had to sedate her, the kind of scream that echoes in your head long after. Her mom flew in from Texas holding her hand through the tears, the kind of tears that a mother cries when she sees her daughter broken. My baby, what did they do to you? The studio for her next project went into crisis mode, the kind of crisis that involves lawyers and damage control. They delayed filming, used body doubles, even CGI in the trailers, the kind of CGI that costs millions. But the photos leaked, the kind of leaks that happen when the paparazzi are relentless. Paparazzi caught Sophia in a hoodie and sunglasses, her face still bandaged, the kind of photo that goes viral in hours. The internet lost its mind, the kind of mind loss that comes from schadenfreude and cruelty. Sophia Reyes' plastic surgery disaster trended for weeks. Memes, TikToks, the whole circus, the kind of circus that feeds on pain. In February, she posted a single Instagram story, the kind of post that says more than words, a black screen with white text. Beauty shouldn't cost your soul. It got 20 million views, the kind of views that come from people who are watching the fall. But behind the scenes, the rage was building, the kind of rage that turns into action. Sophia hired the best lawyers in town, the kind of lawyers who win big cases. The lawsuit against Voss Aesthetics and Dr. Reed was filed on March 10th, the kind of filing that makes headlines. $25 million for medical bills, lost wages, emotional distress, and punitive damages, the kind of damages that send a message. The complaint is brutal, the kind of brutal that reads like a thriller. The defendants prioritize profit over patient safety, using unapproved materials and rushing procedures on high-profile clients to maintain their reputation as the go-to for celebrities. Voss's team hit back hard, the kind of hit back that comes from a team of PR people and lawyers. Patient expectations were unrealistic. And their statement said, Miss Reyes was informed of all risks, but the discovery is where the real filth came out, the kind of filth that makes your stomach internal emails from Voss to read. Sophia is a big fish. Push the full package. The threads are fine. The Koreans swear by them. Texts from the anesthesiologist. Guy was in a hurry to get to his party. We cut corners on the monitoring. And the kicker? Bank records showing Voss paid off a previous patient who had similar issues in 2024. $200,000 to keep her quiet, the kind of payoff that shows the pattern. Sophia isn't the same girl anymore, the kind of change that is irreversible. She walks with her head down in public, the kind of walk that says she's hiding. The paralysis makes her smile crooked, so she avoids cameras, the kind of avoidance that comes from shame. Her career is on life support, the kind of life support that involves reshoots and delays. The Netflix show wrapped with heavy reshoots, the kind that cost the studio millions. Rumors say she's in talks for a tell-all book, the kind of book that could burn bridges. But the scars run deeper than skin, the kind of scars that affect the soul. In a leaked therapy session audio, she says, I look in the mirror and I don't know who I am. The girl I was is gone. And here's where shit gets truly fucked up, because Sophia wasn't alone, not by a long shot. As her story broke, the dominoes started falling, the kind of dominoes that take down an entire empire. Other stars started whispering, the kind of whispers that spread in private DMs and late night calls. Other lawsuits started brewing, the kind of lawsuits that are just the beginning. The Voss Clinic became ground zero for the 2026 plastic surgery plague, the kind of plague that spreads fast and leaves no one untouched. And the next victim? A man who thought he could cheat time forever, the kind of man who built his entire life on looking young and invincible. Marcos Hale, the 42-year-old rom-com king who still made women in their 30s and 40s clutch their popcorn and sigh every time he flashed that trademark half smile on screen. From the outside, he looked eternal. Jaw you could cut glass with, thick dark hair that never seemed to thin, skin that glowed like he'd been genetically engineered in a lab. But Marcus wasn't born looking like that. He built it piece by bloody piece over 15 years of quiet, expensive maintenance. And in 2026, he decided to go for the ultimate upgrade. Let's rewind his life the same way we did Sophia's, because the pattern only makes sense when you see how far back the desperation runs. Marcus was born, Marcus Harlan Whitaker, in a working-class suburb outside Columbus, Ohio, 1983. Dad was a union mechanic at a Ford plant, the kind of man who came home smelling like motor oil and Old Spice, hands permanently stained black no matter how hard he scrubbed. Mom was a part-time dental hygienist who kept the books for the local VFW hall on weekends. They weren't poor, but they weren't comfortable either. Christmas meant one big gift per kid and a lot of hand-me-downs. Marcus was the middle of three boys, loud, athletic, good-looking, in that effortless Midwestern way. High school quarterback, prom king, the guy everyone assumed would marry his cheerleader girlfriend and stay in town forever. Except Marcus hated Ohio, hated the gray winters, the strip malls, the way everyone knew your business. He spent hours in front of the mirror practicing expressions he saw in movies, raising one eyebrow like Tom Cruise, flashing the crooked grin like young Matthew McConaughey. At 17, he got his first modeling gig, local car dealership ads, shirt off, leaning against a pickup, smiling like he owned the world. The paycheck was $300 and it felt like a fortune. That summer, he told his parents he was moving to Los Angeles after graduation. They laughed, then cried, then gave him $500 they couldn't really spare and told him to call home every Sunday. He arrived in LA in 2001 with a gym bag, a fake ID, and a headshot his mom paid for at Sears Portrait Studio. The first 2 years were brutal. Couch surfing, bartending at a sports bar in Westwood, auditions where casting directors barely looked up from their phones. He did underwear catalog work, fitness magazine spreads, anything that paid. By 25, he'd landed a recurring role on a middling network sitcom, The Guys Next Door, playing the charming but dim-witted neighbor. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. And steady meant money for the first real work. The hair transplants started at 28. Follicular unit extraction, 6,000 grafts spread over 2 sessions. He flew to Turkey for the second round because it was cheaper and the surgeon had 5-star Google reviews from other actors. The jaw implant came at 32 after a director told him on set, "You've got leading man potential, but that profile needs more definition." Silicone custom carved, placed through an intraoral incision, so no visible scar. Recovery was hell swollen like a chipmunk for 3 weeks, but when the bruising faded, he looked sharper, more expensive. Casting directors started noticing. The rom-com offers rolled in. By 38, he was the guy. 3 consecutive #1 Valentine's Day releases, a fragrance campaign, a Netflix holiday special every December. But the mirror started lying to him. At 40, he noticed the first real signs. Faint crow's feet, slight looseness under the jaw, the way the camera caught every tiny sag in 4K. His agent, a shark in a Tom Ford suit, pulled him aside after a table read. Marcus, you're still bankable, but the clock is ticking. The audience wants 35 forever. Voss can give you that. Discreet, no one has to know. Marcus had heard the name Voss before. Everyone had. The clinic was the open secret of the A-list, the place you went when fillers and Botox weren't enough anymore. He booked the consult for January 2026 under an alias. The waiting room smelled like eucalyptus and fresh linen. Voss himself did the examination, running gloved fingers along Marcus's jawline, tilting his head under the bright ring light. You've done good work already, Voss said. Hair, jaw, nice foundation. Now we go deeper. Deep plane facelift, neck lipo, upper and lower blepharoplasty, and my new favorite, the platelet-rich plasma vampire infusion mixed with growth factors. It's regenerative. You'll wake up looking 30 again, but better, tighter, fresher. Marcus signed without hesitation. The price tag was $280,000 cash, no insurance, no paper trail. Surgery was scheduled for Valentine's Day 2026 poetic. He joked to his wife Lauren, a former catalog model who now ran a boutique wellness brand. Lauren kissed him and said, "Just come home looking like my husband, not a stranger." February 14th, he checked in at 5:45 a.m. through the private entrance. Same surgical team that had done Sophia a month earlier, Reed on the facelift, Voss supervising, the same anesthesiologist who'd rushed the monitoring. 8-hour procedure. They pulled the S-mass layer, trimmed excess, tightened everything like shrink wrap, liposuction under the chin and jowls, eyelids trimmed and repositioned. Then the PRP cocktail, his own blood spun down, concentrated, spiked with extra peptides from a grey market supplier in Singapore, microneedled, then injected in strategic zones. He woke up in recovery with his face wrapped like a mummy, eyes forced open because the lids were too tight to close fully. The pain was a dull roar under the morphine. By evening, he was home in Malibu, propped up on pillows, sipping smoothies through a straw. Lauren took one look and went pale. "Babe, you look like you've been in a car accident." Day 3, the swelling peaked. His face was a shiny, distorted balloon. He couldn't blink properly, his eyes stayed wide, giving him a permanent look of shock. The neck was rippled like corduroy from uneven lipo. He texted Voss at 3 a.m. "This isn't right, fix it." Voss replied at 9 the next morning. "Totally normal, give it 10 days. Inflammation peaks, then drops." It didn't drop. By day 10, the left side began to sag, the deep plane lift had failed, asymmetric read had over-resected on that side, and one of the suspension sutures pulled through. The skin hung loose like wet tissue paper. The PRP infusion triggered a massive inflammatory cascade. His face felt like it was on fire from the inside. Lauren started sleeping in the guest room. A leaked voicemail she left for her best friend went viral months later. "I married a man, not a fucking Halloween mask. I can't even look at him." Marcus hold up. Security footage from a neighbor's Ring camera later obtained and leaked shows him standing in the master bathroom at 2 a.m., shirtless, staring at his reflection, fingers pulling at the sagging skin, whispering, "What the fuck did I do?" over and over. He canceled the entire press tour for his spring rom-com. The studio panicked. Internal emails that surfaced in Discovery read, "Marcus looks like he aged in reverse the wrong way. We need options. Body double, CGI, recast?" He went back to Voss in late March for a revision. They tried to salvage the lift with more threads, same Korean batch that failed Sophia. The threads tore through weakened tissue. One incision site opened up during the procedure. Infection followed fast. By early April, he was in Cedars-Sinai with sepsis, fever spiking to 104 degrees. Surgeons had to debride necrotic tissue and remove portions of the original implant and grafts. When he was discharged, his face was a patchwork of angry red scars and uneven contours. The rom-com offers vanished. Agents stopped returning calls. His wife filed for legal separation in May. The lawsuit landed in June, $15 million against Voss Aesthetics, Reed and the Singapore peptide supplier for gross negligence and use of unapproved experimental biologics. The complaint included surgical photos that made industry insiders physically ill. In Discovery, they found the damning texts. Voss to read, night before surgery. Marcus is vain as hell. He'll pay anything. Don't tell him the plasma cocktail is still phase 2 trials. Read to a nurse during recovery. Another sucker for the forever facer, lol. Marcus, once the guy who could sell out theaters just by smiling, now avoids mirrors. Insiders say he's drinking heavily, mixing benzos and bourbon to sleep. He sold the Malibu house at a loss and moved to a gated community in Idaho, far from cameras. The man who built an empire on looking young learned the hardest way possible. Time always wins, and when you try to cheat it, it takes everything. And the pattern was now undeniable. Voss Aesthetics wasn't an isolated tragedy factory, it was the epicenter. As spring turned to summer 2026, the next name started circulating in the encrypted group chats and late-night industry dinners. Lila Kane, 30 years old, supermodel turned actress. The face of Chanel for 4 consecutive campaigns, cheekbones that could slice paper, legs that went on for days, the body that launched 1,000 thirst tweets. Lila was a New York royalty from birth. Mom was a former Vogue editor turned creative consultant. Dad ran a boutique hedge fund. Private school, summers in the Hamptons, first runway at 16 for Marc Jacobs. By 19, she was on the cover of American Vogue, the youngest face of Dior fragrance in a decade. But modeling is a meat grinder too. The camera is merciless. At 28, her booker sat her down in a Soho cafe and said, brands want fresh, you're still stunning, but the cheekfulness is starting to show age. Get the work, stay relevant. Lila resisted longer than most. She'd built her brand on elegant natural. But the booking slowed. Designers started choosing the new crop of 22-year-olds with razor-sharp bone structure. In March 2026, she finally booked the sculpted contour package at Voss, buccal fat removal, micro-lipo under the chin, jawline, and angle of jaw filler. I won't snatched, but still me, she told Voss. Defined, not combed. Outpatient. Quick! She was back in her Tribeca loft the same afternoon, face wrapped in compression, popping arnica and bromelain. The first 48 hours were textbook, swollen, bruised, but manageable. Then the buccal fat nightmare began. Read again took too much, way too much from the left side. The asymmetry was immediate once swelling subsided. Left cheek collapsed inward like a deflated balloon. Right stayed plump. The jaw filler migrated south, creating jowls instead of definition. By week 4, she looked 10 years older, hollowed out, skeletal. The snatched look had become stuffed. She tried to rescue it with more filler, bad idea. The product clumped, creating hard nodules under the skin. She started wearing turtlenecks and oversized sunglasses everywhere. Paparazzi caught her leaving a late-night appointment. The photos hit TMZ with the headline, Lila Kane's shocking new face. The memes were vicious, side-by-sides labeled before after the Hunger Games. She deleted her Instagram for 6 weeks. In May, she checked into a discreet wellness facility in Arizona, officially exhaustion and burnout. Sources close to her say it was for the cocktail of anti-anxiety meds, sleep aids, and painkillers she needed just to get through the day. A leaked DM to a friend read, I can't eat anything solid without my face throbbing. It feels like my skull is collapsing in on itself. Her lawsuit filed in late June, $10 million. The complaint accused Voss of aggressively overselling minimally invasive results while downplaying catastrophic asymmetry risks. Discovery pulled up the same ugly pattern. Voss pushing the buccal procedure even after Lila expressed hesitation in the consult notes. One email from Voss to his Miami affiliate. Send the next batch of the high-density filler. The models love the instant jaw. Don't ask where it came from. Lila's case wasn't just about vanity anymore, it was the tipping point. Because once her story hit the tabloids, the floodgates opened. The body disasters, the ones that could actually kill you, started surfacing. Marcus Hale's collapse was the spark that finally made people connect the dots publicly, but the real body horror kind that lands you in the ICU fighting for your life was already brewing in the background. And the next wave hit hardest with the women who'd been sold the Curves upgrade as the ultimate power move in 2026. Let's talk about Alia Monroe, 35 years old. The pop diva who dominated the 2000s and early 2010s with that voice that could belt anthems and break hearts in the same breath. She grew up in Bankhead, Atlanta, Section 8 housing, single mom working 2 jobs, no dad in the picture after age 5. Leah was discovered at 15 during an open mic night at a local church basement talent showcase. By 17, she had a record deal. By 19, her debut album went triple platinum. The hits kept coming. Crown, Fever Dream, No Apologies. She became the blueprint sexy, confident, unapologetically black, the kind of star who made little girls in hoods believe they could rule the world. But the music industry is brutal on women's bodies too. After 30, the comments shifted. She's still fine, but the waist isn't as tiny. The new girl's got that crazy hourglass. Her team managers, stylists, the whole machine started the quiet campaign. The BBL renaissance is real, her creative director told her over brunch in WeHo. Cardi did it, Megan did it, the fans expect evolution. You want to headline festivals in 2027, you need to compete visually. Leah had already had subtle work, breast augmentation in 2018, lipo in 2021 to maintain the snatched waist. But 2026 was different. The trend was mega BBL high-volume fat transfer plus strategic silicone implants for extra projection and permanence. She flew to Miami in May to a clinic called Apex Rejuvenation, one of Voss's preferred affiliates. The surgeon was Dr. Javier Torres, 39, flashy Instagram presence known in the celebrity circle as the Booty Whisperer. Torres had trained under Voss for 6 months in 2024. They shared suppliers, protocols, even patient referral bonuses. The procedure was booked as a full lower body sculpt. Liposuction from abdomen, flanks, inner, outer thighs, lower back. Fat harvested, purified, then re-injected over 1,200 cubic centimeters per side, way above safety guidelines. They added high-profile silicone implants under the gluteal muscle for that shelf look that photographs well from every angle. 10-hour surgery. Leah was under general anesthesia, intubated, monitors beeping. Mid-procedure, she coded twice. First time, fat emboli shot into her pulmonary circulation, blood pressure tanked, oxygen sats dropped to 72%. The anesthesiologist scrambled, gave pressors, suctioned the airway. They stabilized her. 30 minutes later, it happened again, another embolus, bigger. Cardiac arrest, CPR for 4 minutes. They got a pulse back, but she was hypoxic for too long. When she woke in the surgical ICU 2 days later, tubes down her throat, legs in compression boots to prevent clots, drains hanging from her hips like alien appendages, she couldn't speak, just tears rolling down her face. The recovery was a war zone, deep vein thrombosis in both calves by week 2, cellulitis at 3 incision sites, one of the silicone implants shifted superiorly, creating a visible step of deformity. The fat that did take was uneven lumpy on the right, flat on the left. She couldn't sit without a special cushion for 4 months, pain was constant, a burning deep in the muscle that opioids barely touched. Back in LA by July, she cancelled the European leg of her tour. Official statement, vocal rest and family time. Reality, she was bedbound half the days crying into silk pillows in her Hidden Hills estate. A leaked group chat screenshot from her inner circle showed her typing, "I feel like a stranger in my own skin. There's something foreign inside me and it hates me." Her lawsuit against Apex Rejuvenation, Dr. Torres, and crucial Elias Voss for negligent referral and shared liability in protocol design was filed August 2nd. 30 million demanded. The complaint included CT scans showing pulmonary infarcts from the emboli, surgical logs noting high-volume injection despite visible resistance, and bank transfers. Voss received a $15,000 consultant fee for every patient he sent to Miami. In discovery, the chain was ugly. Text from Torres to Voss day after surgery, "Your girl coded twice, but we pulled her through. She's gonna look insane once the swelling drops. Send more PLS." Voss replied, "Keep the volume aggressive. The bigger the better for the gram. Just don't let them die on the table load." Leah did a surprise appearance at the MTV VMAs in September, seated the entire performance, voice still raspy from intubation trauma. The internet noticed the stiffness, the way she couldn't cross her legs. Comments flooded. What happened to Leah's body? She addressed it in a raw Instagram live 2 weeks later, no makeup, hair in a bonnet, voice cracking. "I trusted the people who were supposed to make me better. They almost killed me. I'm still healing, inside and out, but I'm not hiding anymore." She became the face of the backlash. Other women started coming forward, rappers, influencers, reality stars who'd gone to the same Miami Voss pipeline. One after another, the stories mirrored. Over-aggressive lipo, dangerous fat volumes, emboli, infections, permanent deformity. And then the child star turned adult actress wave hit. Enter Chloe Summers, 27 now, Disney darling from age 9, starring in Magic Manor for 6 seasons, the wholesome girl next door who sang, danced, and sold cereal. When the show ended, she tried the transition, indie film, some edge, a few tasteful nudes in Vanity Fair, But the roles kept drying up. Directors told their agents, she still looks 12, we need adult, get her some structure. In June 2026, she went to a Voss satellite clinic in Beverly Hills for what was pitched as a refinement septorhinoplasty revision plus moderate breast augmentation and to balance her petite frame. The surgeon was yet another Voss protege, Dr. Nadia Patel. The nose job went catastrophically wrong. Patel shaved too much dorsal cartilage and over-resected the tip. The bridge collapsed within weeks, creating a saddle nose deformity, flat, concave, almost simian-looking, and over-resected the tip. The bridge collapsed within weeks, creating a saddle nose deformity, flat, concave, almost simian-looking. The implants were oversized for her delicate ribcage. They bottomed out almost immediately, creating the dreaded double bubble and visible rippling under thin skin. Chloe hid for months. Hoodies, masks, baseball caps. When paparazzi finally caught her in Malibu in October, the photos were everywhere. Chloe Summers unrecognizable after surgery gone wrong. She looked gaunt, distorted, nothing like the sunny girl America grew up with. Her lawsuit dropped in November, $8 million. The filings included pre- and post-op 3D scans showing the cartilage distraction and implant malposition. Discovery revealed Voss had personally approved the implant size over email. Go bigger, the camera loves projection, she'll thank us later. Chloe started speaking publicly in December. A sit-down with the major morning show, tears streaming. I wanted to grow up on screen. Instead, I lost the face that got me here. I don't recognize myself anymore. By late 2026, the lawsuits numbered in the dozens. Voss's medical license was suspended pending investigation. The California Medical Board raided the clinic in October, seizing computers, patient files, unlabeled vials of proprietary blends. A whistleblower and ex-nurse named Carla Mendez went public on a podcast in November with receipts, audio of Voss laughing in a staff meeting. These celebs sign anything if you promise them cheekbones. The threads break, dissolve and bill for the revision. The underground clinics boomed in response. New names, same suppliers from Seoul and Dubai. The rich and famous just went darker, quieter, but the survivors were organizing. Sophia Reyes, Marcus Hale, Leah Monroe, Lila Kane, Chloe Summers. They started a private signal group. Met in person once in a rented Malibu Airbnb. No phones allowed. They compared scars, shared pain management tips, cried together. Sophia reportedly said, "We were sold immortality. They sold us nightmares." And that private signal group Sophia started in late October 2026, it grew fast. What began as 5 broken celebrities venting in a Malibu Airbnb turned into something bigger, something dangerous for the entire ecosystem. They started naming names, not just Voss and his direct circle, but the people who enabled the whole machine year after year. The agents who took kickbacks, the managers who scheduled the appointments and then billed the client extra for wellness coordination, the studio executives who quietly approved the recovery downtime clauses, the publicists who crafted the cover stories, exhaustion, personal time, vocal rest, family matters. Everyone had a role. Everyone got paid. One of the first big breakthroughs came from inside CAA. A junior agent named Tyler Chen decided he'd had enough. In early November, he anonymously leaked a folder. One chain between Tyler's boss and a wellness liaison at Voss Aesthetics. Rebecca, client SH booked for deck 31. Full package. Confirm the referral bonus hits my Q4 numbers. Voss liaison, already processed. 25,000 wired to the usual account. Tell her the threads are the new gold standard. She'll sign anything. Another thread. Rebecca, MH looking rough. Can we get Voss to comp the fix? Voss liaison? Comp? Lol, no. But we can do a VIP revision that cost 80 grand. He'll pay. He always does. Tyler's leak included screenshots of wire transfers, monthly consulting fees from Voss Aesthetics to 3 different top-tier agencies. The money was labeled as marketing partnership, but the timing lined up perfectly with spikes in client bookings at Voss. The article dropped November 15th. Headline: The Referral Racket, How Hollywood's Top Agencies Profited from Botched Celebrity Surgeries. Within hours, the stock tickers for the parent companies of CAA, WME, and UTA twitched downward. Agents started lawyering up, clients started firing agents. Sophia Reyes publicly switched representation the next day, posting a single Instagram story, a photo of a scarred left cheek in natural light, no filter, caption, new team, new rules, no more lies. But the agencies weren't the only ones with dirty hands. The studios played their part too. Take Netflix, the home of Sophia's Echoes of Us franchise. Internal production memos leaked in the same wave showed executives discussing visual continuity concerns as early as January 2026, right after Sophia's initial post of photos circulated privately among the showrunners. One email from a senior VP to the line producer: SR's face is compromised, reshoots will cost north of $4 million if we wait. Options: heavy makeup, prosthetics in close-ups, body double for wide shots, or push VFX de-aging, facelift simulation in post. Budget already tight. Decide fast. They chose VFX. The final season used over $2 million in facial reconstruction CGI to make Sophia look like pre-surgery Sophia. The irony was sickening. The studio spent more fixing her digitally than Voss charged for the original disaster. Similar memos surfaced from Paramount, Marcus Hayes' rom-com pipeline, and Universal Lila Kane's upcoming thriller. All followed the same playbook. Minimize public visibility during recovery, use stand-ins, throw money at post-production, never admit the surgeries were the root cause. One Paramount exec wrote in a Slack thread, "If we acknowledge the work gone wrong, we open ourselves to liability in the talent's lawsuit against Voss. Keep it artistic choice in all press." The studios protected their bottom line, the agencies protected their commissions, Voss protected his God complex, and the celebrities, they were the collateral damage, the product being fed into the machine. By December 2026, the medical board's investigation had escalated into a full criminal referral. The FDA got involved after tests on seized vials from Voss's clinic revealed multiple unapproved substances. A Chinese-manufactured PDO thread variant laced with unknown polymers, a growth factor serum that was basically off-label stem cell supernatant mixed with industrial-grade hyaluronic acid, and a peptide cocktail imported from Singapore that hadn't even entered phase 1 human trials. One batch of filler tested positive for bacterial contamination Pseudomonas, the kind that causes flesh-eating infections. Carla Mendez, the whistleblower nurse, went full public in a December sit-down with Oprah's network. She brought receipts, hidden camera footage from staff break rooms, audio of Voss bragging, "We're not doctors anymore, we're sculptors. They want art, we give them art. If it breaks, we bill for the restoration." She cried when she talked about Sophia. "I held her hand while she screamed in recovery. I told her it would get better. I lied because I was scared of losing my job." The class action lawsuits consolidated in January 2027. Lead plaintiffs: Sophia Reyes, Marcus Haley, Alia Monroe, Lila Kane, Chloe Summers, and 17 other models, influencers, character actors, even a few behind-the-scenes crew members who'd gone to Voss for discreet touch-ups. Total damages sought over $250 million. Punitive counts accused Voss of willful and reckless disregard for human safety in pursuit of profit. Voss himself vanished for 3 weeks in late December. Rumors flew: Dubai, private island in the Maldives, plastic surgery of his own in Brazil to disappear. He resurfaced January 10th via a carefully lawyered video statement posted to a brand new Instagram account. "I have dedicated my career to helping people feel their best. Recent events have been deeply painful for all involved. I am cooperating fully with authorities and look forward to clearing my name." Nobody bought it. His passport was flagged. He was arrested at LAX 2 days later trying to board a flight to Istanbul under a fake name. Bail was denied. He's been in county lockup ever since, awaiting trial on charges ranging from medical battery to fraud to conspiracy to commit fraud. But the real horror isn't Voss sitting in a cell. It's what came after. The black market pivot. Once Voss's clinic shuttered and his affiliates went dark, the demand didn't disappear, it went underground. New Telegram channels popped up overnight. LA Elite Refresh. Discreet Sculpt 2027. No, name aesthetics. Surgeons operating out of private homes in Encino and Brentwood using the same Korean threads and Singapore peptides that Voss had stockpiled. Prices drop. Desperation economics. No medical board oversight, no anesthesiologist on payroll, just a nurse and a doctor who lost his license years ago. In early 2027, a 23-year-old influencer named Kaylee Voss, no relation, died on a kitchen table in a rented Airbnb in West Hollywood during a cut rate buccal fat and jawline contour. Cause: lidocaine toxicity and airway compromise. No crash cart, no oxygen. She was pronounced dead before paramedics arrived. The surgeon fled. The Instagram account was deleted within hours. That death was the first public casualty directly tied to the post-Voss diaspora. It won't be the last. Meanwhile, the survivors keep talking. Sofia did her first red carpet appearance since the disaster at the Independent Spirit Awards in February 2027. No makeup on the left side of her face. Partial paralysis still visible. She wore a custom gown with one sheer sleeve exposing the surgical scars on her neck. During her acceptance speech for a producing credit on a new indie, she said, "This industry told me beauty was worth any price. I paid. I almost didn't survive the bill." If you're watching this and thinking about going under the knife because someone told you you're not enough, please hear me. You are enough right now. Don't let them carve pieces of you away to fit their frame. Marcus Hale started a foundation, time well spent, focused on body dysmorphia and industry pressures. He does Zoom panels with young actors showing unfiltered photos of his current facescas, asymmetry, the works. "I spent 15 years trying to stop time," he tells them. "All I did was accelerate the damage." Aaliyah Monroe headlined a benefit concert in Atlanta last month. She performed sitting on a stool, still dealing with chronic nerve pain in her legs from the clots. Halfway through the set, she stopped, looked straight into the camera and said, "This body almost killed me so I could look like what y'all wanted. Never again." They're not just healing, they're fighting back. And the industry is terrified. Because when the product starts talking back, when the faces they paid to perfect start showing the cracks and calling out the people who cracked them, the whole illusion shatters. The wider cultural fallout from the 2026 plastic surgery apocalypse didn't hit all at once. It rolled in slow like toxic fog creeping under the doors of every soundstage, every agency office, every influencer mentioned from the hills to hidden hills. By February 2027, exactly 1 year after Marcus Hale went under the knife on Valentine's Day, the conversation had shifted from isolated horror stories to something existential. Hollywood wasn't just reckoning with bad doctors, it was staring at the rotting core of its own value system. Youth as the only acceptable currency, beauty as a job requirement, imperfection as career suicide. Red carpets change first. The Spring Awards season of 2027 looked visibly different. Fewer razor-sharp jawlines, fewer pillow lips, fewer faces pulled so tight they couldn't emote. A lot of the women, some of the men who used to arrive looking like living filters now showed up softer, rounder, older, not because they suddenly loved their natural selves, but because the risk calculus had flipped. The phrase Voss became industry slang overnight, shorthand for botched beyond repair. Agents started warning clients in hushed tones, "If you're thinking about work, don't get Voss. We can't ensure that level of downtime anymore." Magazines and online outlets that once ran breathless Best Beauty Tweaks of the Year listicles pivoted hard. Vogue's February issue ran a 15-page spread titled The Cost of Perfection, featuring unretouched portraits of Sophia Reyes, Lila Kane, and Aaliyah Monroe side by side with their pre-disaster archival shots. No glam squads, no lighting tricks, just daylight, scars, asymmetry, and the kind of tired eyes that come from months of pain and shame. The cover line read simply, "They paid, we watched, now what?" Social media algorithms noticed the shift too. TikTok and Instagram started pushing de-influencing content into For You pages, long-form videos of people dissolving their own fillers in real time, crying as the hyaluronic acid melted away. Captions like, "I spent $20,000 to hate my reflection less and ended up hating it more." The hashtag Don't Get Voss trended globally for 3 weeks straight. Even the beauty brands panicked. Filler manufacturers issued vague press releases about enhanced safety protocols. Thread companies in South Korea quietly reformulated their products after losing half their US celebrity clientele. But the pivot to natural was the biggest lie of all. By mid-2027, the new marketing buzzword was regenerative aesthetics, stem cell facials, using your own fat, exosome infusions, polynucleotide boosters harvested from salmon DNA. Clinics popped up in Beverly Hills overnight with names like Eternal Renewal and BioBloom Aesthetics. Same marble lobbies, same eucalyptus scent, same promises. This time it's different. This time it's from within. Prices climbed even higher because natural sounded safer, so people were willing to pay premium to believe the fantasy again. Sophia Reyes called it out in a blistering op-ed for The Cut in March 2027. "They're selling us the same poison in a greener bottle," she wrote. The minute one scandal dies, they rebrand the next one as revolutionary. I'm not here to tell you never get work. I'm here to tell you, know exactly what you're buying, who's selling it, and what happens when it goes wrong, because it will go wrong. And when it does, the people who profited will be on to the next patient before your stitches are even out. She wasn't wrong. Discovery in the consolidated class action kept peeling back layers. Voss's server backups recovered by forensic IT team showed he'd been running an affiliate kickback program since at least 2022. Over 40 surgeons across LA, Miami, Dubai, and Seoul were in on it. Referral fees ranged from 10 to 30% of each procedure. One Dubai clinic paid Voss a flat $200,000 a quarter just for sending high-net-worth American clients. The money flowed through shell companies with names like Pacific Wellness Partners and Global Beauty Innovations. IRS agents were now involved. Voss's trial is set for late 2027. Prosecutors are pushing for felony medical battery and conspiracy charges. If convicted on the top counts, he faces decades. His defense is predictable. Patients signed informed consents. Complications happen in medicine. But the paper trail is brutal. Thousands of texts, emails, payment records, one recovered voice memo from Voss to himself, recorded after a particularly bad day in 2025. They keep coming back. No matter how many times it goes sideways, they want more. I'm giving them what they crave. If they die chasing it, that's on them. He said it like a man who'd already absolved himself. The survivors, though they haven't absolved anyone. That signal group Sophia started now has over 60 members. They call it the Unfiltered. They meet monthly, sometimes in person, sometimes virtual. They bring lawyers, therapists, nutritionists. They share blacklists of surgeons still using the bad threads, the contaminated fillers. They fund legal fees for members who can't afford the fight. They testify in depositions. They speak at universities about industry pressure. They're building something that didn't exist before, a network of people who survived the machine and refuse to let it chew up the next generation without a fight. Marcus Hale told me in a late-night call last month he's sober now, living quietly in Idaho. I used to think aging was the enemy. Turns out the real enemy was believing I could buy my way out of it. Aaliyah Monroe just announced her next album titled Reborn. The lead single drops next week. The hook, took the knife to my body, thought it'd make me whole. All it did was carve a bigger hole. Chloe Summers is executive producing a documentary about the scandal. Working title, Cut. She's narrating it herself, voice steady even when the footage shows her collapsed nose and bottomed out implants. Lila Kane walked Fashion Week last month, her first runway since the disaster. She wore no makeup. The crowd gave her a standing ovation. Not because she looked perfect, because she looked real. And Sophia, she's producing now. Her first project is a limited series about body dysmorphia. She's playing the lead, no prosthetics, no filters, just her skirt, asymmetrical, still beautiful in the way only truth can be. This is what 2026 gave us. Not just a year of disasters, but the beginning of the end of the old rules. The mask slipped, the curtain tore. And for the first time in decades, people in this town are starting to look at each other, really look and ask, what the hell have we been doing? The answer isn't pretty, but at least it's honest. Hey, what's up? It's Strange, coming to you live from the shadows where the real stories live. We just walked through the bloodiest year Hollywood's beauty myth ever had. Faces melted, bodies broken, careers torched. Also, the machine could keep churning out flawless illusions. We named names, we followed the money. We watched the survivors stand back up, and if you made it this far with me, you know the truth now. Perfection isn't worth the body count. If this episode hit you in the gut, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss the next time I pull back the curtain. Hit the like if you're done pretending this industry is glamorous. Drop in the comments who you want me to investigate next, actors, directors, executives, whoever's hiding the filth. And if you've got insider info, send it my way. Anonymity 100% guaranteed. Links are in the description. Stay sharp, stay angry, and remember, the prettiest faces hide the ugliest scars. This is Strange, signing off from Dirty Hollywood. I'll see you in the dirt.